Thank you very much. I want to welcome everybody to the Verona Public Board of Education meeting. It is October 12th, 2021, and we're calling the meeting to order. It's 7:45. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The reading of the meeting notice. This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the open meeting session that the Verona Board of Education passed a resolution at its annual reorganization meeting held on January 5th, 2021. The meeting set forth the schedule of its regular meetings, which resolution was within 7 days of passage. The schedule was sent to the Verona Cedar Grove Times, the Star Ledger, the Township of Verona, and the VEA. Postings of this meeting setting forth the time, location, and agenda were posted at the Verona Board of Education office and on the Verona Public Schools District website. The Verona Board of Education operates under a consent agenda format. Any board member has the right to have an item pulled to be voted upon or discussed separately. Copies of tonight's agenda and resolutions have been made available to the public and the press. Mr. Cruz, can you please do a roll call for attendance?
Sure. Mr. Allworth.
Here.
Mr. Day.
Here.
Mrs. Strappi.
Here.
Mrs. Fresky.
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you very much. And this evening, we have no presentations. And we do have a superintendent's report from Dr. Dionisio.
Evening, everyone. Just a few brief updates this evening. First, the Start Strong statewide testing began last week at the elementary level. HBW is conducting the state assessments this week, and Verona High School will begin scheduling the testing next week. Second, on the superintendent report this evening, I'd like to personally thank VMAC for a successful VMAC family night last week. And in addition, the Verona Environmental Commission for all of their work and all of the participants in the Walk to School Day. Both events were a huge success. We held our first homework-free weekend of the year last weekend, and I'm sure that was very welcomed by our students. And lastly, the Verona Public Schools' 4th annual magazine publication is nearing completion, and it will be shared digitally with the community in the coming weeks once it is finalized. And that's all I have this evening for the superintendent report.
Does any board members have any questions or comments?
Just one thing I wanted to add, I believe, and that we had another event was the food truck festival that happened this weekend.
Yes, that's right. That was a major event, and fortunately that rain held out. That's the Verona Conference SCA, and that was held at Town Square in partnership with the township and a lot of vendors and restaurants. And it was a wonderful event. So despite the initial rain and a little cooler weather, it turned out to be a success. So thank you to the Verona Conference of SCA for that.
It was really good. There were a lot of, it seemed like there were a lot of people there. I don't know if the weather affected it or not, but it seemed like it was pretty well attended. And the food was great.
They always are.
Are there any other comments or questions in regard to the superintendent's report? If not, we did have some committees meet this week, and we're going to go into the committee report. So I'm going to ask Education and Special Education, Mr. Allworth and Mrs. Jaffe, did you meet?
We did. Wasn't a very long meeting. We, Dr. Dionisio covered some of the points that we did talk about. The first point that we talked about was policy 2425, the emergency virtual or remote instruction program. And that, I believe, has been uploaded into the public folder already for the public view. And that is, according to state statute, we are required to release our plan for full remote learning in case we have to close down for 3 days or more. And that would be related to resolution number 8. We spoke a bit about professional development and specifically Mandarin, grades 1 through 4, phonics, social studies, and the math grade 4. And let's see. It seems like the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee is getting very close to being able to announce the finalist for the person they would like to oversee our that whole project. So that is very exciting. We're hoping by the next meeting, we can have that on the agenda. It looks like we are going to, the plan is to hopefully use the ESSER funding, using the Learning Accelerated Coach and Educator Grant under the ESSER funding to hire or find internally an elementary mathematics instructional coach. That would be someone responsible for pushing into the classroom and not only assisting students, but really helping teachers differentiate and use our new Dimensions math program to the fullest. Map growth assessments will be next week in the elementary schools, and then October 25th through November 3rd in HBW. Dr. Dionisio already discussed the Start Strong assessments, PSATs, and NMSQTs are administered on the 13th, which is tomorrow for grades 9, 10, and 11. And that will be a delayed opening for grade 12 students. Teachers are now going through their first round of observations, and there will be a second mentoring meeting occurring on Thursday, the 14th with Dr. Miller. I'm trying to see, was there anything else?
The Montclair State program.
Right. Yes. I'm sorry. Thank you. So this was probably the most exciting part of our conversation. Was that Dr. Miller is exploring, and this was something that they had explored prior to COVID, but they had to table it for the time being. They want to bring it back now where seniors can participate in a dual enrollment program with Montclair State University. So that would mean they would take classes here at VHS in the morning and then spend their afternoons at Montclair State. And they would be able to do 2 classes in the fall, 2 classes in the spring. Of course, they would have to, apply and get into the university. They would work with the counselors to make sure that's the appropriate program for them. They would have to have a certain GPA. And it does come as a reduced cost overall for the classes that they take if they're still in high school. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for students to sort of get ahead. But Dr. Miller said that there is more to come at the next board meeting. Likewise, we also talked about sort of looking maybe into the spring at doing a complete audit of our tech ed program and looking at what opportunities there are there, possibility of needing to hire another teacher to make sure that those students are, getting the fullest education that they can, and helping our counselors get, I guess, certain training at the high school to help our students who are going to trade schools or going into trade programs, apprenticeship programs, find the right one for them as well. And Tim, did you want to do Dr. Moriello's
Sure.
report?
Yeah, there wasn't too much
No.
from Dr. Moriello's report. There was the next presentation, mental health presentation by Dr. Susie Millar. It's gonna be on October 28th. So I think that one's gonna be virtual as well, like the last one, if people want to.
Yeah, it's going to be in person and virtual. And Dr. Moriello also made a point to say that students are welcome. So middle school and high school students are also welcome and encouraged to come to that one as well.
He met with Verona Child, and they did want to make sure that they expressed their concerns about our meeting format. And he said he would promise to relay that to us. So they are still concerned about the way we are meeting. So I said we would report that out. And aside from that, it's mostly personnel issues and things that can't be discussed. Yeah. That's about it.
Education Committee. Are there any questions or comments from board members in regard to the committee report? I have a question. I don't know if you delved too far into it with the dual enrollment. So the courses that students would be able to take at Montclair State, is that also simultaneously satisfying a requirement for high school as well as earning the college credit?
So any of the classes that they would be able to take at Montclair State, in terms of a dual enrollment, I guess the general requirements are state to state, as it was explained to us. So you would still have to make sure that those courses would satisfy both your graduation requirements and would get you college credit, but that's something the counselors would work on with them.
So in the past, we've had dual enrollment with Syracuse, program up at Syracuse,
Syracuse.
and I believe Seton Hall. Do we still have that going on or no?
We do. We have multiple arrangements with universities. We've had Syracuse, Seton Hall, Fairleigh Dickinson University. So a lot of wonderful programs and opportunities for our students.
Thank you. Moving along with the committee reports, we had athletics and co-curricular, which is again, Mr. Allworth and Mrs. Prisco.
I can report on that, Mrs. Freshy. Thank you. So we discussed the busing situation. Again, that's still an ongoing discussion with the busing and the cost of, getting buses. Getting a bus could cost up to about $600 for a 4-hour minimum. So it is very expensive, but we're not just the only district that is faced with this. It's all over. The other update was with spectators and masks during indoor events. The report on that is much better. Spectators and fans and students are all following the protocols of wearing their masks indoors. This past last week was Walk to School Day on October 6th, and I actually attended that at FM Brown, and it was really great to see. We met over at the corner of Linden and Grove, and we walked down to FN. There was probably, I would say, about 8 to 10 seniors from Verona High School that had attended FM Brown that came to the walk. So that was really nice to see past students there. And Buzz the Bee was there to greet the students as we got to FM Brown. So it was always great to be back at the FM Brown school, but all schools participated in Walk to School. And I think it was a well turned out event on all levels. Also, tomorrow at the high school is Cheer for a Cure for breast cancer awareness for Minette Angels. That will be taking place up here on the upper fields. I believe it starts at 5 p.m. It will entail the Verona High School cheerleaders, as well as the Verona Eagles programs, as well as the Verona Community Cheer Program. And also, I believe 2 other towns are coming in for that, Caldwell and Cedar Grove, to making it a large event. So it should be a very good event and fundraiser. And also Thursday evening, the girls volleyball team will be hosting Cedar Grove here. I believe at 6 o'clock is the varsity, 5:30 is JV, and that will also be for a breast cancer fundraiser as well. So, and I also, as long as I believe Tim, Mr. Allworth and Mr. Day and myself were at the Mountain Lakes Verona football game on Friday night, and great crowd, great atmosphere. Band was spectacular as always, and cheerleaders and football players. So it was a great turnout and just great place for the community. So it was a great weekend.
I've gone to the last 3 home games and they've all been really well attended and the crowd's into it and the
Yeah.
band sounds great and the team's been playing really hard. It's just a great night out.
It is. It really
It's
is.
great.
So
And the food's good
Yeah.
too. You gotta
I-
come out from Mr. Kozaczuk's on the grill and a whole bunch of people there helping out. So it's great.
and I think that's all I have to report. Did I miss anything, Mr. Allworth?
That's good.
Thanks.
Questions from board members in regard to athletics or co-curricular? If no, we are going to go to buildings and grounds, facilities, and that's Mr. Day and Mrs. Prisco again.
Yes, we had a chance to meet today, so I'll just run through the report real quick. And I know we have some folks here from the building and grounds team also to address any other questions later. But first of all, regarding HVAC, the testing the heating system for steam, just making sure everything's ready to roll as we prepare for, the colder weather in winter. So again, we're ready to rock and roll with heat, just testing it. Regarding the HVAC lines at HBW, they're finishing off the lines, landing, they're balancing to complete the lines in the setup by 10/11. F and Brown and landing, they're doing the AC tie-ins, and then they're working on ceiling mounts, again, the week of 10/11. And then the fencing around F and Brown ground units will be completed in the near future here. So that's really the HVAC. So again, our project's moving forward, getting everything completed, and most of the rooms hopefully should be done in the next month or so. So that's our goal. And again, the key is to make sure everything's up and running. But of course, luckily the temperature's been cool enough that we really hadn't needed AC, and now we're just going to start focusing on the heat too. So regarding the VHS, the new door and the teachers' workroom is on back order, so will be installed tentatively at the end of November. The tennis court fence repair is scheduled for 10/14/21. We found out that Hurricane Ida had come through and the windscreens had bent the fence. And so the town tried to work with us to fix the fences. They weren't able to fix it, so we're going to have them repaired. So that's just, part of the weather impacting us. Regarding F and Brown, the new door in the counselor office is back ordered. Everything seems to be back ordered. But it will be installed in November. But we did get something done regarding HPW. The asphalt repairs were completed behind HPW. So that's good. Make sure all the drainage and everything else is taken care of and no more bumpy surfaces there. So that's about all we have for the report. Any comments or questions?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Day. And Community Resources was slated to meet this week, but we did not. That's canceled, and we will get another date on the calendar for ourselves for that. And at this point, I'm going to invite public comments that are on agenda action items only. So if you do have a comment or a question on something that one of the resolutions, now would be the time to come to the podium. And I don't see anybody coming to the podium for action items. So I am going to move on to general discussion items before we do the roll call and resolutions. Does anybody have anything on discussion items?
Something that it didn't really qualify for education committee because it was something Dr. Moriello and I had spoken about after we came to see Dr. Kelly Moore, who was the first speaker in our mental health and wellness series. And I have to say that was unbelievable. I sat there with my husband. We unfortunately had a very small audience. I was a little, I'm not going to lie, I was a little disappointed. I know it was a tough thing to make it to, but I really felt it was so important for me personally to help my children to come make it here. And I said this at the last meeting, I'll say it again, as a teacher, I feel like I'm really seeing the effects of the pandemic on my students now and on my kids now. Now that we're moving out, we're on the other end of this whole mess. It's so important to try and make it to these speaker series. I learned so much and was able to go home and implement the things that I learned immediately. And it already has made a difference in my household. And I can't thank her enough. And I'm really excited for this next speaker, who out of my friends who are in psychology and social workers, they say this person is incredibly highly recommended. And I'm really excited to bring my older daughter. And I encourage everyone to please try and make the time to make it. It's just really important for our kids. You just never know. And please, if your children are middle school or older, please bring them as well, because it's a learning experience for everybody. I do also want to mention that Dr. Moriello had mentioned that their coordination with Thrive Alliance with counselors is going amazing, and that the counselors are already able to implement things that they're learning in real time and are able to help children in real time with the support of Thrive Alliance, and it's already making a difference. And I'm really excited to see where that goes.
Happy. I'm just going to piggyback off that. The presentation of Dr. Moore is available on the YouTube station, so you can go there and watch it at your leisure. It's not very long. It's about an hour, and I concur with Mrs. Drappi. I did attend that evening, and it was very informative. It was really good talk. It's like our own little mini TED Talk. It was great. What I want to add to discussion items is in an outline on where the board is with our search firm selection. So this is connected to resolution number 5. We are going to, that's up for approval this evening. So I just wanted to make a public statement, and so the public understands what the process is and where we are. And as a board, we've said it multiple times that officially boards of education only have one employee, and it is the superintendent. Dr. Dionisio tendered his letter of resignation to us on August 10th of 2021. And once we received that letter, it sent into motion the single most important task that any board of education has, and that's recruiting and hiring a new chief school administrator. So our immediate focus was advertising and hiring our interim superintendent, and we successfully recruited a very highly qualified pool of applicants, and the board unanimously selected Dr. Funari to lead the district. We've already approved her. She's already met with some of the key stakeholders, administrators. She has meetings set up with individual board members to get up to speed. So we're working on a very seamless transition. And then Dr. Dionisio's last day will be November 8th, and Dr. Funari will hit the ground running on the 9th. And in regard to our search firm selection for our permanent replacement, we received proposals from 3 very well-respected search firms, and we heard directly from them each on September 14th. And after very careful consideration, and we did a thorough analysis of the services offered by each of the firms, the board will tonight vote to pass a resolution to approve Hazard Young Atia Associates, known as HYA, as the firm of our choice. And some of the things that we evaluated in the proposals, the board was very focused on their strengths and what differentiated HYA from the other firms that we heard from. And first and foremost, HYA's vast network of independent educational consultants have been conducting searches for over 30 years. They provide a 1-year guarantee, and they'll conduct another search at no cost if the candidate does not work out within the first year. And they extend that into the second year if the majority of the board does not have turnover. So we have a good comfort zone with a guarantee from them. And then Verona will be assigned an individual management team that's backed by a fully staffed support team. So HYA's New Jersey team, the people that we're going to be working directly with is Dr. Brown and Dr. Adams. And they both have very, very deep roots within the New Jersey educational landscape. And they're true recruiters, and they will actively pursue applicants by providing both active and passive recruiting measures. So we're going to be advertising out, doing a push out. And they will also recruit, anybody that we feel would be a good fit. They will contact and make sure that our opening gets in front of as many people as we can. And then the most acutely important differentiator that we thought was the high level of community engagement that HYA is going to provide for us. So they have a 4-phase program of cycles that they're going to run through until we ultimately choose the next successor. And the first phase is the engagement phase, and they have a process that employs a combination of board interviews, online surveys, town hall type meetings, and focus groups to gather as much information from a really, really broad spectrum across the town. And this phase results in a community leadership profile report that the board can apply during the selection process, and then the final candidate will have access to that, and they'll be able to utilize it on day one of their employment. And then lastly, HYA will help us with a transition workshop as well. So once we get the new superintendent into place, HYA will meet with all of us and usher us into the next step. So we should really be ensured a very smooth transition on this. They also provide the advertising, and they do executive due diligence background searches as part of their process. And they're going to guide us every step of the way and right up until the final interviews and selections. So after contacting professional references, we had an opportunity as a board to reach out to their references. I did speak personally to a couple of other districts who used HYA and got their feedback as well. So this was done very mindfully and thoughtfully, and the board is confident that HYA is the right choice for us to partner with for this task. So that is up for vote this evening. Does anybody have any questions or comments in regard to that, or anything that you wanted to add?
No, I think that was a great summary, and we're definitely pleased with the choice and look forward to working with HYA in the process.
Yeah, it was really good. And I think we did a really good job together looking at the information, and Mr. Cruz did that really good analysis for us to look at it apples to apples. So, thank you for your work and support on this as well. So with that, we are going to do a roll call for resolutions. I would like to table number 9. Can I pull that out now? Can we table resolution number 9? And I need a roll call, a motion to accept resolutions number 1 through 20, excluding number 9.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Day. Was that a second? Second by Mrs. Drappi. And any discussion on any of the other?
Well, I have a
items?
question. Why is number 9 being removed? We haven't discussed it enough, or wasn't that was being done by that's the calendar, correct?
Yeah, that's the calendar.
I know the education committee was working on that. I just was curious, is there an update, or we were,
Yeah, I do want to talk a little bit more about the way it's worded, because it's worded specifically around the NJEA convention, which is part of the teacher contract.
okay.
And I do want to see if it could be worded more, because that really is professional development. So for
Okay,
our
so
staff.
Just fine, we're fine tuning it for next.
Yeah,
meeting,
so we're just going to
potentially.
fine tune
Okay.
that.
So the calendar is up on the website for members of the public who want to take a look at it.
Yeah,
The
aren't
dates,
changing.
we do not anticipate that the dates would be changing. So the start dates, the holidays, the end date of the school year is all there. So it's just a matter of wording and clarification.
Okay, that's great. I guess people really have asked about the dates. I just want to make sure that we had.
Yep, our
Let's get
dates
up
are
there.
there. And then,
I have a question. Surprise, surprise, about resolution number 16. The school security grant for the installation of an emergency notification system. Can you explain?
Yes, this was a topic that came up today in facilities.
Okay.
So this was a resolution that was passed a number of months ago. This is around Alyssa's Law, which is a state required initiative in order to put in place minimum requirements around school security. So the state is providing funding,
Okay.
and the state wanted and requested for districts to be very explicit to make sure that board resolutions stated that any amount that is spent in excess of the grant money is solely the responsibility of the school
Okay.
district, which is what we anticipated anyway. But they wanted more explicit language in there. So that's what triggered having to resubmit this.
Okay.
We do anticipate that the costs will exceed the $125 some odd thousand. And we'll pay for that out of our reserve account when the time comes. Mr. Balaj is working with different firms and getting the best pricing and addressing the needs of the schools to make sure that we're in compliance with the law, but also to be able to make sure that we even go above and beyond in addressing the needs that we have for security in our schools. And we've done a lot through the prior referendum as
Right.
well. So we're in really good shape compared to other districts that perhaps have not been ahead of the curve with this. So from the security vestibules, the camera systems, Share 911, the key fobs, the card readers, all of those things. Now there's going to be additional enhancements from a notification standpoint for evacuations and lockdowns.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now that's for evacuations and lockdowns, notification standpoints to like parents and like people outside the building? Like to-
Both,
Okay, all right,
both.
okay,
But it's really around the specific legislation that was passed
Right.
around what's called Alyssa's Law.
right. Okay, I remember that. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Cruz, can you do a roll call?
Or Mr. Allworth,
Yes.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mrs. Drabby,
Yes,
Mrs. Fresky,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco.
Yes.
We have quorum, motion passed.
Thank you very much. And we do have addenda items as well. I need a motion to approve addenda resolutions number 1 through 3.
so move.
Moved by
Second.
Mrs. Drappi,
Second.
second by Mr. Day. Is there any discussion on those?
I would like to thank Mr. Velage for all of your work this past, is it now 20
18
months?
Long
18
long
months
time.
and
Longer.
counting.
A long
Forever.
time.
Thank you for hanging in there with us all those late nights. And you never complained once. So kudos to you. Does that make you better than all of us? So thank you very much for all of your work.
And Mr. Cruz, can you do a roll call for the voting?
Mr. Allworth,
Yes.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mrs. Drabby,
Yes.
Mrs. Fresky,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco.
Yes.
We have quorum, motion passed.
Okay, thank you, everybody. What I do want to put a reminder that I forgot to say is I would encourage people to attend or tune into the candidates forum, and that's going to be Tuesday night, October 19th. We have 3 candidates vying for 2 open seats on the board. So I think that's going to be a really great opportunity for the public to hear. And that's at 7 o'clock. And it's going to be here in the
Right.
auditorium.
Yeah.
Great. And we do need to go back
Public
into,
comment.
Public
oh,
comment.
I'm sorry, public comment. I am sorry. We are going to open it to public comment. If you have comments or questions on any topics, I invite you to the podium. And just, you need to clearly state your name, address, and there's a reminder, there's a 3-minute time frame.
Good evening. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Katerina Xanthakos. I live on 37 Cumberland Avenue in Verona.
I'm sorry, can you please repeat your name one more time?
Katerina Xanthakos.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Katerina Xanthakos, and I'm here tonight to talk about my experiences here in the Verona school system. During my freshman year, I was the victim in a harassment, intimidation, and bullying investigation. I was targeted because of my Mexican background. Many of my peers would say obscenities towards me and even use derogatory terms in reference to my ethnicity. They proceeded to spread rumors saying I was an undocumented immigrant. Even though the situation occurred years ago, I still feel a sense of resentment toward about my overall experience. After the incident, my freshman year, I was hopeful that things in my community would change. I can tell you now as a senior at Verona High School, from my perspective, nothing has changed. Even if racist language has not been directed towards me, recently, I continue to see and hear it way too often. In addition, there was an incident that recently occurred last week that I feel is important for you to know about. Please know that I'm sharing my perspective and it can be interpreted differently. However, I need to share my feelings about my experiences. Last week, the administration attempted to locate the individuals involved in an incident that I was not a part of. I was approached in an accusatory manner find an administrator. During the conversation, he commented, "A lot of people look like me." This is something that I'm struggling to deal with because the person that was involved was also Hispanic. Was I spoken to simply because of my ethnicity? Following the conversation, I received an apology from the administrator, which was definitely appreciated. I share my story with the hope that Verona school system will one day soon be a more inclusive community that will learn and do better. Going forward, I hope the school's approach in handling harassment, intimidation, and bullying cases regarding racism are handled with more sensitivity and importance. Victims should receive more follow-up support to ensure that they are healing from the incidents. Offenders should also be receiving support and monitoring in over school for a substantial period of time to prevent these incidences from reoccurring. These unfortunate incidents or mistakes are a learning experience for everyone involved. Please take the opportunity to learn from them as well. Thank you for your time.
Your comments.
Hi, my name is Naja Wagesa, and I live at 19 Hillside Avenue, and I'm currently a senior at Verona High School. I'm here to talk to you tonight about my overall experiences here in Verona. My freshman year, I was a victim in a harassment, intimidation, and bullying investigation. In this situation, a student posted a video of him saying an extremely offensive racial term for Black people. Shortly after the incident, I dealt with bullying from other students. For speaking up and advocating for myself. I was called things like ghetto, snitch, ratchet, and more offensive names that don't warrant repeating. I was screamed at in the hallways that my hair looked messy and unkept due to the fact that I have textured hair, unlike many students in Verona. To this day, I'm still dealing with the consequences of this HIB investigation, despite the fact that I know I have done nothing wrong. After the incident, I felt extremely invalidated. If the school did everything they could to address this issue, why is this still happening? In a school where equality and diversity are supposedly stressed, how can you say that the situation was handled to the best of your ability? I walked away from the experience feeling unsupported and that you did not do enough to prevent things like this from happening again. So why would I come back to tell you about the things that have happened since? I'm upset with myself that it took this long, but I'm here now. I cannot speak for all students of color, but I can tell you these incidents are not rare. I have seen and heard students using demeaning, racist, and discriminatory language towards their peers. I have been asked by teachers to mentor underclassmen who are dealing with similar issues that I have dealt with. Why is this still going on? To bring up a recent event, I, along with several other students, helped run the Black in Verona Club. For those who do not know, Black in Verona is a club created for students of color and Black students to share their experiences in Verona and how we can essentially make this town a better place. I created an Instagram account for the club, just like every other club in Verona High School. Not even after 24 hours of the account being creative, we received many hateful comments, including microaggressions and stereotypes about Black people from burner accounts. I understand that I do not have all the information you may have. I understand that you may have been working to address this, but what I can tell you is it's not enough. You need to do more. It's the school's obligation to do right by their students, to have the students come to school and feel supported and safe. I'm not here for me. I'm going to college next year and we'll live a beautiful life. All of these experiences have made me stronger. I'm here for the kids that come after me because you need to do better for them. Please do better. You owe them that. Thank you.
For your comments, I appreciate that.
Good evening. I'm Corey Wagesa, 19 Hillside Avenue. I had no intention of speaking tonight, but I am the mother of Naja Wagesa and here in support of Katula as well. And just listening to them makes me incredibly proud, and I hope that you hear them. I think it took tremendous strength on their parts. There are kids that are worrying about their college applications now and their homework for tonight and their jobs and everything else that is going on in their lives. And they came here and they worked hard to prepare this. I'm speaking to you and I understand, like Naja said, we don't have the full picture. We don't have all the information you have. They understand that they cannot know about other kids' discipline and consequences for things. I am here believing that you are doing everything you can for these children, And I'm begging you to do more because I can tell you that I have seen her experience here in this school for the past 4 years, and you've never seen me before. You've never seen me anywhere. I am a quiet mom. I go to my job, I come home, I take care of my family. I am here telling you it is not enough. And the things that my daughter has lived through for the past 4 years and felt unsupported by is not okay. Please do everything you can to make this a more inclusive environment here in Verona High School, because it is not. Thank you.
Very much. I do appreciate your comments.
I would just like to say to both of our students, thank you for coming tonight. That took a lot of courage and bravery, and for you to step out in the public to be able to come and speak to us. And I know I speak on behalf of the whole board that we appreciate you coming this evening. We take very seriously what you're saying. I promise you that I will be going back to our staff and our administration to learn more and to hear more about some of these things that you're describing. And we'll be reaching back out to you privately to talk to you about those items and those issues. It is something that we have no tolerance for. We have no tolerance for any kind of harassment or intimidation or discrimination here in our schools. And your mom is right. There is a lot that we know on this side that we can't share. I can tell you that we take these things very, very seriously, and we are extremely involved in intervention on all of these matters that happen. I'm personally sorry for you having that experience here. That's not the experience that we want for you. We care about you and we want the best for you, and we're going to continue to try to make it better for all of our students to make sure that everyone feels accepted each and every day in our schools.
Dr. Dionisio, and I do want to echo Dr. Dionisio's sentiments. It takes a lot of courage, and I'm going to get choked up because we are all parents, and we're only as parents as happy as our most unhappy child. And to, watch a child suffer and know that they're going through something and feel that they're not 100% supported should not happen. So we definitely hear you loudly and clearly, and thank you. I truly appreciate your comments.
I would just like to add a thank you as well. I would like to learn more about the Black in Verona Club. If you wouldn't mind reaching out to me through my Verona Schools email. And, I think including the students involved in that club and our diversity, equity, and inclusion committee is incredibly important. So if you could please reach out to me, and then I can certainly connect you with Dr. Miller, who heads that the DEI committee. Thank you.
There's no other public comments. We are going to close that portion of the meeting. Our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, October 26th at 2021, beginning with confidential at 5:30 and the public session at 7 p.m. I will not be at that meeting, so Mrs. Drappi will be stepping up and facilitating that meeting. So I'll hear about that. And we do need to go back into confidential session. That was resolution number 20. And there will be no action taken this evening. Correct? No action. Okay, and I just need a motion to move back into confidential.
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to say moved by Mrs. Prisco and second by Mrs. Drappi. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And we're going to adjourn the public portion of the meeting. It is 8:29.